Good morning, class.
Good morning.
This is lesson number 7. Today is January the 12th, the year of 2025. Topic of today's lesson is Jesus seeks out Zacchaeus. That's in lesson text Luke, the 19th chapter, the 1st through the 10th verse. Today's aim, the facts is to understand what true joy is. The principle is to realize that true joy comes only from faith in Christ. And the application is to increase in joy by growing in faith. So, joy and faith. Understanding what is true about joy and faith. Without faith, you have no joy. You can only receive joy by having faith. That's to believe in things that is just impossible for other people to believe that it's possible for you. That's what having faith is. To not see any way, but to know that it's possible. Yeah. That's faith. I know there's no way that I can run a marathon, but if only I had enough of faith to do it, I can try it and I can achieve it. That would be faith. We are studying about a man named Zacchaeus, another tax collector. We was talking about Levi last Sunday, which we found that Levi was Matthew. Zacchaeus is another tax collector. Tax collectors are believed to be sinners based on, how they operate. They are Jews that works for the Roman government, and they be taking money from their own people. So that's why they consider them as being sinners. In other words, they be stealing. So if the Roman government asks them to get them $100, they'll go to you and they'll get maybe $150 or $200 from you because they want to pocket some as well. Now Zacchaeus, you would find that they say Zacchaeus is a chief publican, a chief tax collector. So in other words, he has other people working under him. So basically what Zacchaeus is, he's the first man that created the pyramid scheme. So what he has, he had other people working under him and they have to pay him. So if he says, the Roman says, I got to get this much. So what he'll tell his workers is, Romans told me to get 150, so I need you to bring me back 2. So they'll go back and they'll get extra money off of other people so that they can pay him, and then he can pay the Roman government. So it's just a pyramid scheme. So that's who Zacchaeus is. Zacchaeus is another tax collector that most would look at as being a bad person and can't be trusted. So he's just a bad sinner. Now, before this, we find that Jesus is, doing a lot of other miracles, talking to people. You find that he's saying a lot of parables, and he ran across this man named Barnabas, the blind man. Ran across him, and strangely enough, this man couldn't see, but he knew who God was. He knew who Christ was. He said, what was this commotion going on out here in the street? And they told him that it was Christ, the Son of God out here. He's talking and preaching, and he's like, what, save me, because he know who he is. He can't see him, but he know. And there's nothing that anybody could say or do to quiet this man down. When they tried to hush him up, he got louder, So that just shows you that, if you are representing who you're supposed to represent and you are proving to people that that's who you are, people will follow you. And people has been following Christ this long. And this first verse, it says that, and Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. So he was heading to Jerusalem. He was heading that way, and he was passing through and ran into Zacchaeus, the tax collector. Now, the area that this is, it's an area of import and export, so things coming in, things going out. So the perfect location to set up as a tax collector, the perfect location. because you're sitting there where a lot of people is coming in and a lot of people is going out. So whenever somebody is coming through that area, you be like, hey, before you can go in there, you got to pay me. The perfect spot. He's catching them all. So of course he's going to be very rich in this location. Now it says, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. He wasn't rich just by doing his job. Because just by doing his job, he would still be a poor man. So in order for him to be rich, he had to take extra on top of what he was supposed to have been doing. That's what made him the chief tax collector. All the other workers that he had working was paying him for being one of his workers. So, and he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little in stature. So he was a short man. Nothing wrong with being short. but he was a short man. You know, and it says that. Now, I do like this verse because it says that he sought to see who Jesus was. He wanted to know. Yeah. So whatever it took, he was going to find out who Jesus was. But see, the problem that he was facing, like I said, he was short. The problem was there was a lot of other people there and he couldn't see over them. That's a lot of our problems, a lot of our issues. There's a lot of things that we don't strive for because we don't see no way of reaching it. We can't see it, so we won't try it. You know, that's how most of us do. That's why we don't accomplish a lot of things in life, because in our minds we can't see it. So because we can't see it, we're not going to try it. That's not the case for Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus couldn't see it, so he did what he had to do so that he could see. Now, the only thing it says that he wanted to do was just see who Christ was. It didn't say that he was looking to change. He didn't want anything miraculous to happen to him. He just wanted to know who this man was that was coming through, because he heard about him and he just wanted to see for himself who he was. And he ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. Sometimes in order to get what you need, you got to do things that you probably never would have ever done. If you want to achieve something new, you got to do something new. If you want something you've never had, you got to give up something that you've always had. You know, that's the only way to achieve certain things. Now, Zacchaeus, he was a rich man. That's the first thing that you got to understand. He was a very rich man. Rich people ain't climbing up no trees just to look and see who people are. Right. But he had to drop who he was in order to get what he wanted. Sometimes the reason that you don't have certain things is because you don't want to let go of what you already got. If you holding on to certain things, it's this pride thing. That's what this is. It's this pride thing. Most of us have too much of pride to let go and gain certain things. I'm not going over there because these people is over here preaching, and if somebody see me over there talking, and they're going to think something wrong with me. Too much pride. That's why a lot of people don't even go towards Christ, because of pride. They don't want people to think something is wrong with them because of pride. But understanding this journey that Christ was on, now Christ knew what this journey was. Nobody else knew this journey but him. He knew that in order to fulfill the reason that he was here, he would have to take this journey. And he was heading to his final days. He knew that. So the thing was, he was picking up as many people as he possibly could to follow him so that they can be a witness. The only person that knew this was him. But pride didn't stop him from doing his job. If Christ would have operated like many of us do, I think Christ probably would have stayed right here. I don't think Christ would have went any farther, because him knowing why he's going this way, he would have stopped moving. You know, he was heading, it was heading towards Passover time. You know, this is where he was heading towards there. So he knew that once he get there, he was going to be captured. He knew that. He knew that people was going to start doing things to him. He knew that his final days was coming, but yet he was still pushing forward, not for himself, but for us. Now, if pride would have set in, he'd have stopped, because anything that he was doing at this point, it wasn't for him. It was for us. He was doing what he came down here to do for us. Now, he climbed up the sycamore tree because he knew that Christ was going to pass through. He was coming this way. So, you know, in order for me to see, I can't see around these people. I can't see over these people. So I'm going to run ahead and I'm going to climb up this tree because I see he's going that way. I'm going to climb up that tree just so Christ can see me. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. He went up the sycamore tree because he was trying to figure out who Christ was. Understand this part here. He never met Christ. He didn't know Christ. He never saw Christ. He went up this tree just to get a look at. He just wanted a picture. Just a picture of who this man looked like that everybody has been talking about. But see, while he was trying to figure out who Christ was, Christ already knew who he was. That's how God is with us. You know, we're trying to figure out what we should be doing in life when he already knows. That's why he said the only thing that we got to do is trust and believe in him. Because if you trust and believe in him, he's going to point you in the direction that he already created you to be in. You know, wherever he wanted you to be, he's going to send you that way. And the only thing you got to do is trust and believe in him. Zacchaeus had enough of faith to believe that if he climbed up this tree, he'll be able to see him. That's faith. You got to have faith to do anything. Y'all just got to y'all got to meet me there. Okay, you got to have faith to believe that you have to do certain things to accomplish certain things. That's faith. Just by him going that way, that proved that he had enough of faith to believe that if he can get to this tree, he had enough of faith to believe that he can climb that tree. He had enough of faith to believe that that branch will hold him up in that tree. So you got to y'all sitting in these chairs right now because you got enough of faith to believe that these benches will hold you up. That's right. We all got faith. We just don't think about faith in the manner that most people think about faith. See, when people ask, do you got faith? Immediately they think about God. They think about religion. They think about belief immediately. No, I don't have any faith. Yes, you do. You have faith. You open your mouth and talk. You had enough of faith to believe that something will come out. We got faith. Zacchaeus had enough of faith to believe that all he had to do was get to this tree, climb it, and he could see Christ. But see, the thing that we got to understand is when you follow that path and you actually seek out what you're looking for, there's always going to be something that we're going to receive in return. Zacchaeus looked at him, but he didn't believe that anything was going to happen. The only thing that he wanted to do was just see the man. That's all. Now, there is a questioning in here. You know, I've been questioning about that, but, you know, there's no reason to question it. You know, because it says that Christ looked up and he saw him and he told Zacchaeus to make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. So this has already been in the plan. It was already a plan. Christ already knew he was coming through here. He already planned on eating at his house. These are things that was already... Zacchaeus didn't even know that. Zacchaeus didn't know that Christ was coming to dine with him. He didn't know that. But Christ says here that today I must abide at thy house. It was already in the plan.
Yeah.
Now, that's how God is. Now, everything that we're asking God for is already in plan. If he's going to give it to you, it's already in the plan. See, we're asking because he says pray often. You know, these are things, talk to him often. You know, always speak to him. This is things that he's asking us to do anyway. We're supposed to talk to him. But there are things that he already has in his plans. Now, it says that, and he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. Zacchaeus didn't know him. All he wanted to do was see him. But then when he got up that tree, he found out that Christ already knew who he was. And then when he got there, Christ says, you know what? Come on down as quickly as possible because I'm supposed to be eating at your house tonight.
Yeah.
So he ran down and immediately got to him as quickly as possible. And it says here, and received him joyfully. He was happy for the moment. He was glad for the occasion. When Christ got close to him, it was almost as something, he acted as if a little child receiving something for the first time. He was happy for this moment. And my long lost cousin finally came home. I'm glad to see him. This is how he was very happy. And when they saw it, when they saw it, the people, when they saw it, now I'm telling you, this is how people is. Even for y'all today, I'm not just talking about, y'all know this how I talk. I don't just talk about what goes on in the Bible. This is real life stuff going on. When people see good things going on in your life, they always got something negative to say. When they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be a guest with a man that is a sinner. So I guess every time Christ sat at their table, they were sinners too, right? So what makes this any different than when Christ met them? You got to start somewhere. In order to be saved, you have to be messed up. In order to be found, you have to be lost. That's what Christ is here for. Christ is here to catch all the lost souls. So passing by, just by Christ calling your name, that meant that you was lost. Zacchaeus was a man that needed salvation. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. Now, this is what I was talking about here. There's a lot of unanswered questions. Okay, so Zacchaeus ran up the sycamore tree. And Christ called him by his name. Then he says, as quickly as you can, I need you to come on down here because I'm eating at your house. He runs down. Here I am, happy to see him. Joyful, meeting him.
Yeah.
The people gets upset. They talking bad about the situation because the man that we have been following this long because we believe in him is now wanting to eat with the sinner. And now we skip from 7 to 8 and we hear that Zacchaeus stands up and he says, behold, half of my goods I give to the poor. The man that has been taking from people his whole time in office. He has been taking. And he didn't even know Christ. He just wanted to see Christ. Nothing has changed about him up until this point. What has been said in that house between him and Christ? We don't know. All we know is who he was is not who he is. What they have been judging him on is not who he is. the person that you once knew is not who you know. So when you start to criticize people and talk bad about people based on what they used to be like, you don't know who they are today. You could be digging yourself into hell just by saying this person is a bad person based on how they acted when y'all was in high school. People are not the same that they used to be. Yesterday is an old day. Nobody is the same as they was yesterday. I heard Minister Spry just said that he had a little cold. But before he had that little cold, he was very well. You see how quickly things can change. Now tomorrow he might wake up and be perfect. Because God changes us daily. We are always on the rise. Well, let me rephrase that. We're always changing based on how we conduct ourselves through Christ. We're always changing. So if we are living for Christ, we're always changing for the better. If we're not living for Christ, we're always changing for the worse. So every day that we go in Christ is for the better. Every day that we go neglecting Christ is for the worse. So we're always going to be changing. So you can't say that this person is a bad person based on how he was yesterday. Zacchaeus was a bad man. But clearly today we see that Zacchaeus is a giver. Zacchaeus is a man that feels like all the bad thing that he has done in his life, he don't no longer need. Now, if you go back if you go back a chapter, you'll hear that they've been talking about the man that wanted to know what he needed to do to be saved in Christ. What would he need to do if he wanted to make it in? And says, follow the 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill, steal, do all the good things, and you will be made whole, you will be blessed, and things like that. And he says, you know what? I've done all of these things. So what will make it good for me? Because I've done everything that it says here. Now, the thing about the 10 commandments, people can read the 10 commandments and people can say, okay, yep, I did that. I've done that too. Yep, I did that. And they won't see no fault. But see, what that question that they asked him was, if you give up all of your possessions, then you will be made whole. He didn't want to do that. So, how many of the commandments did he break? Just by holding on. Just by holding on to that one thing, he's broken all the commandments. So that's why I said just by reading it, you won't find no fault. See, God had to break them commandments down that far just for us to understand a little bit of it, which we should be able to understand it all. See, it started out just by loving. Just love. And you would be made in good graces with me. Just love. We didn't understand what he was talking about. So he had to keep breaking it down until we got 10 of them. And the first 5 is for him and the other 5 is for everybody else. He had to break it down just that much. And we still can't follow. Because we're still trying to find loopholes. We're still trying to find a way to say, well, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. Well, God never said that I had to do. No, we need to stop doing that. And we need to start living in the manner of God created us all to love one another. We're saying that I love God. I believe in God. I love Christ. I believe in Christ. But then we'll sit next door to our family members or our neighbors and we'll say, I can't stand them. But we love God. One that we've never seen before. And we love him more than we love the people that's sitting right next to us. See, God don't even understand that. He don't even understand. How can you love him more than you Love your neighbor.
See him every day.
See him every day. See, God is actually questioning our ignorance. He's questioning us because we're the ones that's making all of these bad connections when it comes to getting into glory or following Christ. We're the ones that's making all these bad connections. It's not, he laid it down plain for us. He says, do this and you'll be okay. Pray to me, you'll be okay. Love your neighbors, you'll be okay. As well as your enemies, and you will be okay. Now he says here that I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. If. There you go. If. That's what I was looking for right there. If. That thing says, if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation. Right there, he is saying that he don't believe that he has done anything wrong. He don't think he has done anything wrong. But see, he stood up and he says, you know what? First off, I will give half of my possessions to the poor. Many rich folk do that. They say, you know what? I'm going to go into the bank. I'm going to do something good today. I'm going to take half the money I got in there and I'm going to distribute it out to the poor. He's giving it back. He took it from him. He's giving it back. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. Now, this isn't the part that I was really, interested in. I know what it sounds like, because here you're saying that you're hearing where he says what he will do, and he says if anybody have any problem with what I have been doing, I will make it right. If you have a problem, I'll make it right. Yeah. But see, this next verse here, it says, and Jesus said unto him, this day is salvation. Come to this house, for so much as he also is a son of Abraham. When Jesus speaks, that's nothing else left to say. Because whatever he say, it will be. When it says, and it is written, it will be. When it came to pass, it will be. So anytime Jesus speaks, it will be. Now, what he's actually saying here, he's not saying that Zacchaeus is perfect. He's not saying that Zacchaeus made everything right. All he's doing is letting us understand that Zacchaeus stands in the same position that we stand in. He says Zacchaeus is also a sinner just like everybody else. All of us has done the same things that Zacchaeus had. We might not have gone through those same paths, but we are still sinners just like Zacchaeus. We are all one looking for salvation just like Zacchaeus. We all need saving just like Zacchaeus. So everybody who is a son of Abraham has fallen short. Everybody who has a son of Abraham has mistreated somebody. Everybody has failed short of glory in some point. That's what makes us sons of Abraham. Because we have faults. We have problems. There are some things that people just don't agree with. And most of the time, it's like we was talking about last Sunday. Most of the time, we are some of those that says, you know what? I think I'm right. And then you got some of us that says, I know I'm wrong. See, God can work with those that says, I know I'm wrong versus those that says, I think I'm right. When you think you know it all, there's nothing much that anybody can do for you. But when you know you got a problem, somebody can help because you're looking for help. Just by acknowledging that you are at fault, you are looking for help. But when you say, I am right, you don't think there's anything anybody can do for you. So that's what them people up here that was in verse 7, they all murmured saying, those are them people that feel like they are perfect. They feel like they didn't make any mistakes. They feel like Christ should only be with them because they are good people. Well, see, if Christ stuck with all good people, then the world would be messed up, because we wouldn't have no bad people or good people or whatever. Because we'll all be sitting here saying, well, Christ only need to sit with the people that's saved. What about the unsaved? He came through to save souls. So if the soul isn't lost, why he need with you? He can't help you. The only ones that he can help is those that are lost. So if you feel that you are perfect, that's nothing Christ can do for you. So why not go and sit with the sinners? Because those are the ones he's here for. This whole journey, he has been collecting souls. This whole journey, he has been passing by saying, hey, follow me. Get up, follow me. Your soul is lost. Come on, follow me. I need you to believe in something. Believe in me. This whole journey, he has been asking people to believe. So when you get to the points to where you start seeing that certain people have started, denying him, you can kind of understand why. Because these is like short journeys. He's on his way to giving himself up. He's on his way, and as he's walking to his final places, as he's walking that way, he said, hey, I'm about to die, but look, come on, I got to show you something. I want to teach you some things before my journey ends. So he's showing you all the things that he needs to show you, but along the way, he's pulling you along so that you can see the process. He's actually changing the characters of all of these people along the way. Everybody that he has touched, their characters has changed. They're not the way that they used to be because he touched them. The characters has changed because of who he is. Now, had he been like one of us, we'd have been like, I ain't even going to stop over there. Look how many souls would have been lost and still lost if we was in that position. Because we look at who people are at the moment. He looks at who people can become. Who people will become. If you gave them the opportunity, this is what can happen. See, if we thought like that, the jailhouses wouldn't be that full. The graveyards wouldn't be that full. The hospitals wouldn't be as full. Because most of these people, it's because they didn't have anybody to show them the way. Most of these people, they had people passing by them, looking at them saying, you're not going to amount to anything because of what you're doing. So that's why a lot of these people are still strayed away, because they have people looking at them saying there's no hope. I might as well leave them where they at because they'll never listen. And you wonder why there's a lot of kids out here not paying attention to parents and not listening to them. It's because the parents gave up. The parents said, you know what, there's no need for me talking anymore. You're not going to listen anyway. And they give up. Other people, you ain't even got to be a parent, but you see it and you say, well, there's no need because mama didn't act right, daddy didn't act right, there's no hope for you. And because of that, you leave that alone. A soul that you could have saved, you leave it alone because of what you think. But see, we got to start looking beyond that and start looking at who they can become. Because just like you wasn't this perfect last year. No. I know, good Lord, I wasn't. I was messed up. And if I was to bring last year into this year, nobody would like me. I'd have been cursing out everybody. But see, you got to leave the past in the past. When you're following Christ, everything is progression. Nobody needs to take steps backwards. We need to move forward in Christ. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. That's Christ's main objective. That's his objective. Came to seek those that are lost. If you don't think you're lost, Christ can't help you. If you think Christ is just walking by because he just want to look good, he's talking just because he like to talk, there's nothing he can do for you. But now, you do have some. You have some that don't believe in everything that Christ would say. But like Zacchaeus, just because they was in the vicinity and they heard something, they got a lot. Sometimes all it takes is for you to hear something. Now, where the problem lies with most of us is we tend to want to shut ourselves off from what we don't believe. And when you shut yourself off because you don't believe in this, then you won't learn nothing. I've been always taught, hear it all, but only take in the truth. So you have Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, you have Allah, you have Muslims, you got all of these things out here. We're not supposed to push them off to the curve. If they got something to say, hear them out. Because there's some things that you can learn from them. Something that they may have that you just didn't catch yet. There's some understandings in there that you might need to take in. But if you don't hear it, you won't learn it. You can't just shut people out just because they are not on the same page as you. They don't travel the same road as you. You can't shut them out. There's certain things you can learn from people. That's why just because certain people is not the same as you, you can't say, well, I don't want to be your friend because we don't act alike. If friends act just alike, you wouldn't have any. Because they'll be doing the same thing that you're doing and you'll get tired of it. You can't learn anything from somebody that's doing the same thing that you're doing. We all got to make a change sometime. Zacchaeus made his change here. Whether he wanted to or not, he was in the vicinity with Christ while he was talking. And when God speaks, things happen. The only thing we have to do is listen to what he has to say. We don't always look. Everybody that has come to Christ, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Everybody that has come to Christ and you see in church faithfully today, at some point they didn't want to go. At some point they didn't want to believe. At some point they said, you know what? I'm tired of this church thing. I'm just going to stay home. I ain't got to go. I ain't want to go. They've all been in that position at some point. Some of the biggest bishops you might find out there probably wanted to stay home every day. But because they was around one time and they heard one thing, that's what kept them coming. And it kept them learning. And the more you learn, the more you come. The more you come, the more you catch. Then the more you grow. And eventually, you'll be one of them that's every Sunday and Wednesday, every Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. And then as often as you can, you be there. Because you listened one time. And that's all God asks from us. Is to listen to him every chance you get. And when you listen to him every chance you get, he can make work happen. He can make things happen. He can change you for the better. But you're not going to change yourself. We can only change through Christ. That's why the scripture says, oh, taste and see. The only way you'll find out is you have to acknowledge it for yourself. I'm done with my lesson. I'm turning this over into the hands of the superintendent.
God bless you.